Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about one of the big decisions that we have the belief that, although you told Senator Collins that you believed it was settled law, the question is really, do you believe that it's correct law? And that's Roe v. Wade. I was in the 50s and 60s active, but first as a student at Stanford. I saw what happened to young women who became pregnant. And then subsequently, I sat as a appointee of Governor Brown's on the term setting and paroling authority for women in California who had committed felonies. And so I sentenced women who had committed abortions to state prison and granted them paroles. And so came to see both sides, the terrible side and the human and vulnerable side. And when you look at the statistics during those days, those statistics that the Guttmacher Institute has put out are really horrendous. For you, the president that nominated you has said, I will nominate someone who is anti-choice and pro-gun. And we believe what he said. We cannot find the documents that absolve from that conclusion. So what women have won through Roe and a host of privacy cases, to be able to control their own reproductive system, to have basic privacy rights, really extraordinarily important to this side of the aisle. And I hope the other side of the aisle as well. Last year, you drafted a dissent in Garza v. Hargan, and that's a case where a young woman in Texas, I believe, was seeking an abortion. In that dissent, you argued that even though the young woman had complied with the Texas parental notification law and secured an approval from a judge, she should nonetheless be barred. In making your argument, you ignored and I believe mischaracterized a Supreme Court precedent. You reasoned that Jane Doe should not be unable to exercise her right to choose because she did not have family and friends to make her decision. The argument rewrites Supreme Court precedent, and if adopted, we believe would require courts to determine whether a young woman had a sufficient support network when making her decision, even in cases where she has gone to court. This reason, we believe, I believe, demonstrates that you are willing to disregard precedent. And if that's the case, because just saying something settled law, it really is it correct law? The impact of overturning Roe is much broader than a woman's right to choose. It's about protecting the most personal decisions we all make from government intrusion. Roe is one in a series of cases that upheld an individual's right to decide who to marry. It's not the government's right. Where to send your children to school, the government can't get involved. What kind of medical care you can receive at the end of life, as well as whether and when to have a family. And I deeply believe that all these cases serve as a bulwark of privacy rights that protect all Americans from over-involvement of the government in their lives. And to me, that's extraordinarily important.